Hey Gemini, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to your reading. Traditional tarot reading this time. Cutting the deck. From the bottom of the deck, we have Six of Water. This can be a return. Traditionally, Six of Water can be a return to innocence, a return to some prior state. You can also deal with relationships with a child. Previous, like a sense of going back to yeah, a place of innocence. What's that song? Return to Innocence by Enigma or something. It was popular when I was young or a teenager. But this could be connecting with your inner child, connecting with a child, something like that. So over on Vimeo, I will be doing a relationship focused reading. I charge a small fee for the energy exchange over there. So join me over there if you'd like. Over here, we're going to be discussing any topic whatsoever. Apparently, overall for the reading is some sort of return to innocence or return to joy. An order that you put into the universe coming back for you. A connection, possibly with someone younger. All right, past, present, inner landscape. What's at issue? Environment, to-do list, possible outcome. What's at issue is a little tricky, it looks like. All right. In the recent past, we have Five of Earth. This is sort of feelings of exclusion, feelings of weakness, feelings of poverty, lack. So you may have dealt with poverty, you may have dealt with a lack, you may have, there's a sense of being unprotected, unresourced, a lack of resources, yeah, unprotected, vulnerable. You know, the wolves at your door kind of feeling, like hungry. Focused on the hunger, focused on what didn't go wrong, or what didn't go wrong. Focus on, well, that's a decent focus. You know, if you're finding yourself having anxiety about what could go wrong, I like to switch it around. Well, it hasn't gone wrong yet. So, you know, my imagination likes to run wild with all the things that could go wrong. And so one of the tactics I've learned is, instead of turning the whole imagination off, just realize that you're imagining all the things that haven't happened yet. We gotta let the anxiety have a little bone there. So but this is Five of Earth, focusing on, yeah, a real focus on what hasn't happened, what hasn't grown in your life, what you haven't accomplished, what you haven't achieved, what the lack, the season ahead. It's like the dawn rising, and instead of shining the light on anything that's growing or fabulous, it's shining the light on things that aren't growing, things that aren't happening. So there's just a focus on lack, possibly poverty here, and some sort of maybe devastating realization of what isn't growing in your life. And a focus on it, almost to the exclusion of other things, almost without realizing that there are actually other things to worry about. Yeah. And I can't tell, like, normally this pack of wolves looks like it's like circling in, working together, you know, the wolves at your door coming. But then there's also in this one today, they could be protecting, right? The wolf can be like a spirit protector that's watching over you, even while you're focused on all that you don't have. It's interesting because normally I see it as like, you know, the wolves at your door, you're hungry, they're almost like vultures circling, but this, I'm not seeing it that way. Seeing it that they're watching over you, being cared for, maybe just spiritual care, or spirit watching over you as you realize what you don't have. Your current situation, we have the Chariot. So this could be about vehicles, transportation, moving. I mean, she looks like she's on her broom. She's on a raven here. There's a lot of passion. This is looking very Wands energy, moving forward quickly. The Chariot can feel like a time machine. And there's a sense of like almost leaping over and through difficulty, almost like using the difficulty, using this past difficulty as fuel, or as a way to, like, something that you learned back here is helping you in a way, like channel some energy, channel some fear into some good forward momentum. This time that you spent focused on lack, on what you don't have, feeling excluded, focused on your weaknesses. There's something from that's allowing you to move forward. The Chariot usually has to do with like coordinating different energies, sort of a coalition that comes together momentarily for a period of time. But this looks like being able to not just fly through a difficulty and not just fly over the difficulty, but actually like using the difficulty to fuel some great forward movement. But the Chariot is a card of movement, possibly actually going somewhere, possibly actually going on a journey, on a trip. It can also mean any kind of like literal transportation, cars. You know, if you have a bike, it's talking about your bike. But movement and some sort of difficulty coming in, but instead of the conflict, like there could be conflict here, and instead of being waylaid by the conflict or devastated by the conflict, there's a sense of using the conflict for your own benefit as fuel to move forward. There's also a sense of having a fire lit under your ass. And it could be that if these wolves are at your door, this is lit a fire under your butt, and you are moving as fast as possible with whatever tools and team you can move forward with. But there could be a clash of words, right? Because the Chariot too, as coalition building, these are groups or people that don't normally work together, but are working together for a moment. Like the horses, if we're thinking about a literal chariot, the horses aren't like always in lockstep moving together. We don't see that in a field, horses in a line moving together just very naturally. No, the charioteer has to coordinate things and bring things together. And then maybe for, you know, the race, the Ben-Hur race, for that period of time, we can get everything moving together. But normally there might even be conflict among the horses. There might even be like all sorts of other things. But for a moment, a good charioteer can get those horses all moving in the same direction. And so it's fast movement, could be physical fast movement as well, could be flying. So your hope, I like this. 3 of Earth, this is a teamwork. You're hoping for teamwork, right? And that's the Chariot, this coalition building for a moment of fast, quick movement, maybe even actually being able to use what's otherwise conflict, right? If we have 2 horses on our chariot and they are fighting, and don't get along out in the field, maybe together they have the competition between them, or they have energy between them. They're not ignoring each other. They're competing with each other for status within the herd, right? And so then in a charioting environment, unless that conflict's too intense, a good charioteer is going to be able to use that energy, the competitive energy between those 2 horses, to move things forward even faster, right? The horses might be competing with each other to move faster instead of biting each other in the field as they might be in the field. Here, a good charioteer is going to get them all moving in the right direction, and it's actually going to be able to harness that energy and that competition for a better race, for more speed and more action when it's called for a period of time. So this charioteer is very strategic, I feel like, in both the amount of requests. We can't over request of these horses, right? In the chariot, I'm just going to take the chariot that I'm seeing in my head here. We can't request that these horses be working together 24/7 if they generally don't get along. but we can create a moment taking advantage of both sets of goals to move it forward. So then we also have 3 of Earth. You're hoping for teamwork, right? And then everybody bringing in different skill sets. This is reminding me of like maybe charioteers. I don't know. I've never seen a chariot race other than in Ben-Hur. And maybe they like take, you know, pit stops or something, and we get the little chariot all like worked up. So that's one crew is fixing up the chariot. We've got the chariot, we've got the horses, we've got the trainer, we've got the rider, we've got a bunch of different people needing to work together. So this is what you're looking for, is some teamwork, some really good teamwork. Everyone, and right, we're going to get to all 3 apples. Everyone's got to get what they need in order for a team to function well. For the most part, you need, everyone needs to be getting something out of it. So as well as contributing, right? So what's at issue here is Elder of Water. We have a King of Cups in reverse. So some emotional immaturity. The person who is meant to be the charioteer here might be like, might not be working very well, or might be having an emotional problem or breakdown or something like that. The charioteer, or someone in this team, someone that's part of this team, could be depressed. It could be that, you know, we have this teamwork going, and we have these horses that normally don't get along working together, but then in the middle of the race, one starts biting the other and has sort of an emotional break from the, you know, everyone had their eye on the goal, or has their eye on the goal, and then one person may be having an emotional break or something where they're not able to sustain the team. They're not able to continue working with the team. They don't, you know, the horse suddenly remembers, wait, I hate you, I'm going to bite you in the middle of the race, something like that, right? And then the chariot goes crashing, and the pit crew has to clean up everything, and the whole race is thrown. So we might have, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but the conflict could be like emotional immaturity between 2 people, people not able to handle the intensity of the situation. I'm seeing a fairly intense situation. Not everybody is going to be able to handle that level of intenseness or intensity or tension, right? And this person's sort of, it feels like, but if someone is out of sorts, if someone is experiencing depression, emotional immaturity, some sort of leader, someone that's supposed to be, you know, getting the horses to all move together. Like maybe the horses are now finally moving together, but the charioteer is like fed up and like, I spent so much time trying to do this. Now I'm grumpy and I'm pissed off and I don't know how to handle it. And he takes it out on his horses and his chariot or something like that. So there could be some sort of leader that's not leading from a well-balanced emotional state. Maybe they were, maybe that's why they became the leader at one point, but there could be like a crisis of leadership in some sort of thing you're trying to move forward. Or someone could be just very not able to handle the intensity of the situation, not able to handle their emotions. I feel like this is coming in as like a warning that there may be someone in a leadership position may not be acting like they're in a leadership position the way you want your leaders to be, which is like emotionally stable, capable. This could be you, this could be somebody else. There's someone that's not handling the intensity of a situation very well, or a situation, their emotions are overwhelming them, which is a very human thing to do, except for when we're like in the sky or in the middle of an emotional situation. But a good charioteer is going to be able to absorb that energy and then reflect it back out in a very useful way. But this Elder of Water is out of that zone. They left the zone. So there could be someone, yeah, it's just someone in charge who's like emotionally unstable right now for whatever reason and in whatever way. There's many ways we can all be emotionally unstable, and we're all emotionally unstable from time to time. It's just a little more precarious when someone who's in charge is having an emotional breakdown. In your environment, we have the moon. So the moon talking about illusions and intuition, things you don't know, things you can't see, things you can't see. There are things going on in the shadows that you're not necessarily aware of. Well, and then it sits right under this one right here. So here you are, you know, and there's a bunch of stuff going on behind you. You're very focused on all these plants that didn't come up. This is like early spring. We've got the early dawn, and the early results are in, and they are not good at all. They're not good. And there's all this stuff going on in the background, and we may not be able, this is exactly the energy of the moon. Are these spiritual assistants, or are these wolves? Are these wolves here as spiritual guides waiting for you to turn around so that they can tell you we're here with you, which is what I'm getting as a possibility today? Or are these sort of opportunists looking for your crash and your end so that they can, you know, pick up and they can get their needs met? If you're not getting food, at least the wolves will get food, is their thinking. So there's like a, are these helpers or are these hunters? We don't know. Are you being hunted, or are you being, or do you have backup, you know? They're not making themselves aware to you that they're back here, that they're looking at you. They're not making, you're very focused on something else so that you're not aware of what's back here. And like, so far from this reading, I can't tell if what's back here is a hunting wolf or a guiding wolf, right? I don't know. So that's the moon energy. There's something in your environment that you're unaware of because you're very focused on one thing. You're unaware of this other thing. This other thing may contain illusions. Is it helpful? Is it harmful? Is it, you don't know. I mean, you're literally not looking at it. You can't see it. This has some just like, what's knowable, what's unknowable. There could be something that, there's just something that you're not aware of that surrounds you. What's interesting is that I'm seeing these little bunny ears on her, which is, there's a lot of bunnies back here too, as far as like, I don't know, joy. But yeah, you're dealing with some shadows. You're dealing with things in the shadows. Things have like layers to them, and there are some layers that you're not aware of just because you're very focused on some sort of grief or some sort of sadness. So you're not necessarily aware of something going on around you. Your to-do list, Ace of Earth. Start it. It's in reality, it's physical, it's real. Touch it. There's something physical to touch here. You know, if it's a person with permission, obviously, but start something real in reality, not just a theory. You may be waiting for a team or wanting a team. And maybe the team just needs to begin. This is very real. This is like a new project, a new job, a new situation, a new home, a new something. It's very real. And what I'm seeing here is all you need to do is reach out and touch it. It's there. And again, we have this sort of first light idea that was coming in this Five of Earth, this first light of winter, the first, you know, a spring sunrise. So just early beginnings, and this Eight of Earth is looking at, and then, oh, look at this. These didn't come up. These Five of Earth, these are the seedlings that didn't come up. But here you have one in your hand that is capable of growing. So something that didn't work out in the past, you do now have a viable seed. These seedlings were not workable. And you were very focused on what didn't work, what didn't come up. But here is one in actuality, and you need to be celebrating it. You need to be embracing it. This is, you may have tried a couple different things and been very focused on it. And so what you may not be seeing in your environment is the viability of something, the viability of an idea, the very realness of an idea. I love Ace of Earth. It's probably one of my favorite aces because it's like, out of the shadows, out of the theory, out of the failures, out of the, you know, arena of the heart and of the mind. It's not just a mind game here. It's real. It's real. And so just having something tangible coming into reality and out of you. It's like, there was a song once, like, get out of my dreams and get into my car. And that's a little bit of that's what I'm hearing right now. Like, out of my dreams here and into my car. This is very real. Like, it's not just a fantasy. It's not just just something that you fear will never happen. There's something very real here, very tangible. It's a viable seed. It's growing. I think, you know, it's like you've been out here mourning this, and then there's actually like some viable seeds coming up back here. There's a viable, this one's going to work. It was planted at the right time. It was, it's very real. And again, I see this sense of like, maybe your spirit's watching over you. I feel like, you know, here there's a lot of like, in the past there's a lot of, well, they're pacing back and forth. They're uncomfortable with the situation. They're feeling ill at ease. They're not at ease. But here in this one, I see that as they see you pick up the real viable option, get out of this like, nothing ever works, this is the worst, I'm gonna starve to death, I'm gonna die alone, whatever. There is a real viable option, and we see, I think, your guides receding. They're at peace as you grab this reaction. They're at peace as you grab this viable seed, as you take the opportunity. Because here they're just like, oh my gosh, they're so focused on this. Your guides are like, they're so focused on what didn't work, on this grief, on this sadness, and what's not coming up. And then now they're kind of like at ease, receding into the background. Okay, they got it. Okay, they have it. Okay. They're looking at the right thing now. They are receiving the viable seed. You know, they couldn't help you over here. And there's just this nervousness in the background. I guess that's why I'm like, are they hunting you? Are they helping you? But here I see sort of like a sense of safety and a sense of ease in sort of your spirit guides around you, seeing that you have received the blessed opportunity. Okay, they got it. It's almost like they sent you something in the mail and it had like a tracking number, and they've been, you know, refreshing on the tracking number every day. Are they going to get it? Are they going to get it? Are they going to get it? And now here they get the delivery received. It was signed for by the person we sent it to. So they got it. And now there's like a sense, I feel a sense of ease in the sort of your spirit guides around you as you receive the opportunity that they've sent you. And then we have 5 of water in your future. Now, this is interesting with the 5 of swords. Ooh, there's still grief. You might go back to being just fixated on what didn't work, fixated on a loss. You have this new beginning, but sometimes the new beginnings actually start to highlight all the, and once we finally have like the seed growing in our hand, it almost reminds us of all the seeds that didn't grow. It's almost like now that we have this reality is here in our hands, there's a sense of needing to grieve something that didn't happen, a loss, feeling left behind, feeling alone in this grief. We have these crabs here, which is reminding me of, you know, Cancer, and the moon card right here, even though this is supposed to be Pisces, which I think is just weird. Not in my mind. We have, again, we have a guide here with a cup. An emotional dysregulation. Again, but again, it's a focus on what's lost. Maybe lost friends, maybe lost companions, maybe lost relationships. It's something very deep inside you that needs to be grieved and mourned, and will be. But it has to do with this new I don't know where we left off, but in a way you're starting with this card and you're ending with this card. And then we have overall for the reading a return to innocence. So here's a focus on what you don't have. We have a great thing coming in, but then we also have sort of like some emotional mop up that needs to happen about what you didn't get, about a loss. And so I don't know if this is a warning, like you could just end up right back where you were, even though you have this new opportunity, or there is emotional release that needs to happen for the very real loss that you incurred in the past. And that this new opportunity may unlock some hidden griefs from losses in the past. Some kind of sadness about it. When you're ready, whenever you're ready, you can turn around. Whenever you've processed this, take your time. We don't need to rush through this stuff. You know, we don't want to get stuck here, but we don't want to get stuck here, so we probably won't. So there's a sense of just, there is something that needs to be grieved, that is very upsetting to you. There's a loss from the past. There's a loss from the past coming back here in a way that does deserve its emotional moment. And let that moment last for as long as it needs to last. You will absolutely know when it's time to move on. And then when it's time to move on, you have this guide, this angel here with this cup. Ready, you know, okay, you've, you know, ready to, a cup of water ready for you for when you're done with this process. So whenever you feel ready, there is renewal, there is a new life that awaits you. We have the lotus flower reminding us, no mud, no lotus, right? We don't go through icky stuff. We don't have a stuff to root ourselves in and to blossom in. So, so when you're done, it will be there. The renewal will be there. But you do have something new coming in, and for whatever reason, you may end up needing to grieve. I think these prior losses, it will trigger something. Okay. Okay, we're going to take from the Chiromancy Synchronicity cards here. Oh, yes. Okay. We have Bear Spirit Healing. And that's exactly, I think, that what this new thing comes in, and it helps you heal and go through some of the previous losses in your past. So we have this Bear Spirit Healing. And perhaps this, yeah, this new beginning does bring in a lot of healing, but first there's a little bit of, the grieving is the healing, right? It's the healing. Unless you insist on staying there, it's a very natural, normal process that brings in the healing. The healing's right here waiting for you. And then Elves Playfulness. This is a much needed energy here. And then with this Six of Water here, this playfulness here. And with this Elder of Water in reverse, you may be the one bringing playfulness to an older person who's maybe a little depressed or a little out of sorts. So Elves Playfulness. So if you see elves, even on a book cover, that's a sign that you're exactly where you need to be. Also bear. A bear is gonna show you that you're exactly where you need to be too. All right, and then these ones I like to cut the deck because I only want one little prayer for you, Gemini. Daring dragonfly, expression, joy, understanding, glittering and flittering fairy of light, show me the way to my deepest desires. So, all right, some sort of guidance to your deepest desires. Show me the way, the path. And daring dragonfly can be like spiritual messages too. Messages from these guides that I see them everywhere in these cards, watching this all unfold. And then finally maybe even making themselves known and seen in a way that whenever you're ready, with the sort of a healing water. All right, I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you'd like, join me over on Vimeo. The link is in the description box right below. Ciao.